Today is a very, very sad day. The reason why I go and say this is because I finally saw 50 Shades Freed. And everyone, the only thing I can say right now after watching this movie is this. Guys, it's finally freaking over! Man, what a journey we've had throughout the years, huh? Just imagine 3 years of dealing with this terrible, terrible franchise. But now we have finally come to the finish line just to finish off this monstrosity of a franchise. It all started in the year of our Lord 2015, where the first 50 Shades of Grey movie came out. And it was the first movie I done where I done an extended uncut rant for, albeit a completely unprofessional one, that rocketed me to superstardom. And then in 2017, they came out with 50 Shades Darker, and they got even worse. After the garbage fire that was 50 Shades Darker, I was waving the white flag saying, I give up, I can't take this anymore. But instead of cowering down and giving up and waving the white flag, we stood together, brothers in arms, and now we're waving the victory flag for having to deal with these 3 terrible movies. And yes, it should become no surprise whatsoever when I say that 50 Shades Freed is a monstrous disaster that came from the bowels of hell. I mean, seriously, it's about as obvious as somebody telling you something that you already do know. Like, for example, George Washington is the first president of the United States. So like always, when we're talking about this monstrosity of a franchise, let's start by saying how truly terrible this movie actually is. But wait, instead of holding my grade for the very end of the video, I'm just gonna put up my grade right here. So here's my grade for 50 Shades Freed. Alright, now let's talk about it. So in this movie, what happens is that in the last movie, Christian Grey proposed to Anastasia Steele, and then this time, they finally get married. Well, that's just freaking wonderful. A klutz and a stalker get married. What a happy couple. So in their honeymoon, they go to the beach, they go to Paris, fine dining restaurants, they have sex, more sex, even more sex, you know, because that's what the kids want to watch. And there's basically this subplot that has to do with Jack Hyde, who's basically Anastasia Steele's boss, who becomes even more of a stalker towards her. And to be honest, that's pretty much all what this movie is about. When it boils right down to it, this movie is not even a movie. Movies have stories. They have characters you care about that you really want to latch onto. This movie does not have a story that you can latch onto, and it has characters that are completely and borderline unlikable. Basically, all this movie is, as I said before in the last movie, all it contains are a bunch of side plots that could be interesting, but are completely wasted and mean nothing at all. And also intertwined with these subplots are the main high selling points of this film, which are basically the cringeworthy sex scenes getting planted into these films over and over and over again. And every single one of them is more boring and cringeworthy than the last one. Except that this time, instead of being completely boring and uncomfortable to sit through like the last one, they're completely crazy! But we'll get to those later on down the road. For now, let's talk about the stuff that you already do know about this movie. One of them being how completely phoned in the performances are. I mean, you already know by now that Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan were terrible on the last 2 movies. Now it looks like they're actually phoning in a performance for something they were already terrible at to begin with. You can see it based on the small level of investment the actors have with the script. And let's continue off with an oldie but a goodie, the dialogue. Now, in this notebook that I have right here, it contains some of the worst dialogue in 50 Shades Freed. I didn't get to write all of them because, in all honesty, I was completely appalled by how terrible the dialogue was that I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I basically wrote down the ones that stood to me the most. And by the way, I just want to say, if you have watched all 3 movies and have managed to write all the terrible lines of dialogue in the trilogy, you deserve not only a Medal of Honor, but a key to the city. So here are some of the lines in 50 Shades Freed. Take off the whole thing. Not a chance. Why? You're showing plenty as it is. Good morning, wife. Good morning, husband. And this. If this stuff wasn't bad enough, you haven't heard anything yet. This line right here takes the freaking cake. So basically what happens in this scene is that after spraying suntan lotion on Anastasia Steele, Christian Grey is like, I'm gonna go for a swim. And then Anastasia Steele is like, okay. And then as Christian Grey leaves, Anastasia Steele turns back and she sees a woman who's sunbathing with their breasts open, out in the middle of public. So Anastasia Steele does exactly what that girl was doing. And then Christian Grey walks over to her and she says, "Oh, what are you doing? Showing your breasts out in the middle of public?" He then goes and asks the waitress for a blanket and he's like, "Put this on." And then Anastasia Steele was like, "Come on, man, I was just doing what that woman was doing." And Christian Grey is like, "You do not want to be looked at by people like that." And then she says the worst line in the whole movie. I'll go as far as to say it's a worst quote of the year candidate. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. She says, and I quote, "Christian, look around. There's boobs as far as the eye can see. There's boobs in boobland." That is seriously a line spoken in 50 Shades Freed, written by very, quote, talented writers. And to cap it all off, there are so many scenes of absurdity. First and foremost, one of the scenes basically involves a car chase. So here's how it goes. Christian Grey has Anastasia Steele ride his car, but all of a sudden this big giant black SUV is tracking down the car at the same time. Christian Grey tells Anastasia Steele to floor it, and the chase ensues. The worst part about the entire car chase is the song that is being put into the film. This song not only is so terrible, but it's so misused in a scene like, I don't know, a car chase. Can you imagine in an action scene in Mad Max Fury Road if they just instantly played a cover of Bee Gees' Staying Alive? Yeah, it would probably go something like that. But the worst part about all of that is that Anastasia Steele and Christian Grey, after stopping the car, they go, "Oh, thank God, I can't believe we got away with it." And then immediately after that, they start having sex in the car. For no reason whatsoever. They not have an emotional moment, not a sigh of relief or anything like that. No, they just start having sex in the car. Because that's exactly what I needed after that exciting car chase. But then again, this is fan fiction from Twilight. Probably I think the worst scene in the movie is basically a scene that involves pistachio ice cream. Or was it vanilla? I don't know, but it was like some sort of ice cream. And Anastasia Steele is kind of toying with Christian Grey and then accidentally puts the ice cream on top of his chest and then starts smearing it around all across him. And what basically happens after that scene, it was so baffling and unspeakably terrible that I literally had to close my eyes for about like 10 seconds or more. I'm not making that up. And then there's like this other subplot that basically has to do with Christian Grey and Anastasia Steele trying to have a baby. Anastasia Steele asks, "Hey Christian, do you want to have a baby?" And then Christian Grey is like, "Nah baby, that's okay. I'm not really yet ready for it, but we'll give it time." And then after weeks of breaking the bed, Anastasia Steele says to Christian Grey, she's preggers. And then Christian Grey is like, "What did I just say? I wasn't ready for this. You know I told you I wasn't ready for a baby yet." And this was actually one of the few times that pissed me off in the film. I mean, seriously, Christian, if you're not ready for a baby yet, and you say you don't want to have one at the time, why do you still have sex with her? Anastasia Steele tells Christian Grey, that's how sex works. You need to grow up, Christian Grey. But in all honesty, it's one of those things that it just happens. For no logical reasoning, it just happens in the script. You're also sort of an idiot, Anna, for buying into this sex. Why didn't you say to Christian Grey when you're having sex, say, "Wait, Christian, you did say you didn't want to have a baby yet, right? So why don't we just stop? Why don't we just do something else and just wait for your okay?" But no, we gotta have this stupid subplot have some sort of drama. And after all the arguments and all the conversations about the baby, that never comes up again. It's just like the scriptwriters just said, screw it, let's just forget about it and move on to the next scene. Guys, 50 Shades Freed is an absolute abomination. I was very excited at first that it is over, and believe me, I am. But in all honesty, it really is bad. I know that from some people that the best alternative is to watch porn. But you know what? Instead of watching porn, just wait till Black Panther and Early Man come out in theaters. It will be certainly more entertaining than this monstrosity right here. But you know what? At the same exact time, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I'm gonna miss these terrible movies. And I know what you're thinking to yourself. Luke, how many coke did you snort when saying that sentence? Well, my reasoning behind doing so is twofold. Number one, I don't do drugs or alcohol. I'm in the straight edge lifestyle. And number two, the worst part about all that is once these movies are gone, what else am I gonna put on the worst list that doesn't consist of unnecessary sequels, remakes, and movies from the DC Cinematic Universe? Just kidding, guys. Like whatever you want. It was a joke. But hey, whatever lies on the other side, I'll be certainly there to review them. I can guarantee you that. So guys, that was my review of 50 Shades Freed. Comment below, let me know what you thought about the movie. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And also, if you want to hear more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe for more. My name is Luke Nukem, and thank God, this franchise is over!